The upper limit problem is a subtle but profound block that everyone has, but most people aren't aware of it or how much it sabotages them in their life. In this video, I'm going to talk about what the upper limit problem is and how to use EFT to break free so you stop sabotaging yourself and can have more joy, happiness, and success in your life. My name is Stefan Gonick. I'm an expert EFT practitioner and trainer from EFTalive.com. So what is the upper limit problem? Well, we all have an unconscious limit as to how much good feelings like love, success, and creativity that we can actually tolerate in our life. You can think of it as sort of like a glass ceiling that we run into when we've been having good feelings for too long. And when we run into this upper limit, we will subconsciously do something to bring those good feelings down to a more comfortable level. So for example, let's say you're in a relationship and things have been going really well for a while. Or let's say you're taking your relationship to the next level. So at first things feel really good, and then when you hit your upper limit, you'll get uncomfortable. And you won't be aware of this consciously, but you'll run into the upper limit problem, and then you'll do something that will bring those good feelings down. So a common example would be like you might start a fight for no reason, over some really minor thing. And this is just your psyche trying to get to a more comfortable place. Now, this can have multiple negative effects, right? One is that you're no longer feeling good, which is a shame. But it can even cause you to start doubting your relationship because, you're finding yourselves fighting, over and over again for no good reason. Or let's say you're working on a business. You're really excited to start this new business. And at first, things feel really good. But then as you start taking steps towards, putting everything into action, you can start running into that upper limit problem, and then you start getting hit with these sort of self-critical thoughts like, who do you think you are, and you're not good enough for that, or who would be interested in what you have to offer, and things like that, as a way of subconsciously bringing the good feelings down. So this is, we think of these kinds of things as just sort of regular blocks, but lots of times we weren't feeling that way before. Right? It's just that we ran into that upper limit problem and we hit it, and then subconsciously we're doing something to bring it down. Another example of things been going really well in your life, you might all of a sudden get hit with this flood of anxiety of, don't count on it, good things don't last, wait for the other shoe to drop, you never know what's going to happen, things like that. Again, out of the blue for no apparent reason. Or another example is things been feeling really good, and then you bump into your shoulder into the corner of a wall as you round the corner, really hard, and you get this big bruise in your shoulder. Or you stub your toe somewhere. These are these sort of clumsy things that you're doing subconsciously to bring the good feelings down. And in that example, you can actually even get yourself sick or have this massive allergy attack. Again, all of these things are subconscious ways that your psyche will bring your good feelings down to a more comfortable, tolerable level. And everybody's upper limit is different. Some people, their upper limit is fairly low. And some people, their upper limit is higher, but we all have one. And how low our upper limit is tends to be based on how much good feelings we had growing up. So you can think of it kind of like a muscle. The more good feelings we had growing up, the stronger our good feelings or upper limit muscle is. And if we can handle more good feelings. If we didn't have that many good feelings growing up, then our upper limit would be lower and we'll run into it more quickly, more easily. So this can have a really big impact on our life. Not just that, it brings the good feelings down, which is, a bummer in itself. It'd be nice to stay feeling good, right? But it can cause us to really have problems in our life. So for instance, I mentioned the one about relationships where it can cause you to doubt your the quality of the relationship with your partner because you seem to be fighting a lot. And in business, it can cause you to, either if you're getting really self-critical, you can get really discouraged, or fearful, either way. You can get really discouraged, and it makes it harder to move forward. You might be, makes it so hard to go forward, you get paralyzed and you can't do anything. Or you do go forward, but you don't execute things well, and things like that, all because of this upper limit problem you run into. So what can we do about this? How do we use EFT to break through the upper limit problem so that we stop sabotaging ourselves and we can be much more successful in our life and are much happier in our life. Well, the healing process is a 3-step process. The first step is to identify where in our life we're running into our upper limit. So places to look is things like our relationship. Are we noticing anything going on with that? Do we have these bouts where things feel really good for a while, and then for no clear reason things feel less good? Maybe fights, maybe. Another example of the way we can bring ourselves down is what's called blemishing, where you focus on minor imperfections of your partner that normally you wouldn't care about, right? So I think we're good, and it's like, oh, my partner has this really big toe and it's kind of ugly, or something like that. He's focused on these little minor imperfections. Or, and as I mentioned, you can look in your business. Are you feeling blocked in that area where you start out feeling really good and then you get discouraged and things back and forth, stuff like that? Or it could even just be quality of life in general. If things have been going really well for a while, do you find yourself, all of a sudden, coming down dramatically and getting all worried or whatever? All of them is you start out feeling good and then boom, there's this drop. So that's likely where an upper limit, an example of where in your life you're going to be hitting your upper limit. Step 2 is to notice how you're bringing yourself down. Now, we do these things subconsciously and we're not aware that we do them, but if we put our attention on them, we can become aware that we're doing it, right? Because we want to stop doing that, right? We all have our typical way that we bring ourselves down, so we want to identify what that is. If we can use that when we're doing our tapping. And then the third step is to actually use EFT. Now here is where things get a little tricky though, because regular EFT doesn't work very well in this situation. See, regular EFT is designed to release negative feelings, right? So you can use it for the negative thing that we do to bring ourselves down. We can tap on that to release that. But if that's all we did, that would not be enough, because the method that we use to bring ourselves down is not the problem. The upper limit is the problem, right? So let's say we bring ourselves down by being self-critical. Well, we can tap a whole bunch on that and kind of release that pattern of bringing ourselves down in that particular way. But because we haven't actually increased our upper limit, we haven't addressed the upper limit problem itself, our subconscious will just find another way to bring ourselves down. And if we address that one, it'll find another way to bring ourselves down. So we'll just be continually finding different ways to bring ourselves down. So we need to address both. But regular EFT doesn't have a way of increasing the positive, right? It's just about releasing the negative. But luckily, there's another version of EFT called the EFT Choices method, created by a woman called Patricia Carrington, that is designed to do exactly that. The EFT Choices method, you can think of it as a powerful replacement to the regular EFT basic recipe. So if you remember, the EFT basic recipe involves picking a problem phrase, right? A phrase that represents the thing we're trying to release, and then tapping on that, right? That's the EFT basic recipe, is just that. With the choices method, the EFT choices method, we come up with the second phrase, a positive phrase. So we have a negative phrase, the problem phrase, just like regular EFT, but then we also come up with a positive phrase to help us move in the positive direction we're trying to go towards, right? Now, I have a whole tutorial video on the EFT choices method. I'm going to give you an example, and we'll get into it some, but I don't want to spend this whole video trying to go into great depth on how to use the EFT choices method. But I have a EFT choices method tutorial. There'll be a link in the description, and there'll also be a little video icon at the end of this video, so you can learn more about that. But the basic idea in a nutshell for the EFT choices method is, as I said, is to pick a second phrase that represents the direction you're trying to move towards. So this is going to be easier to talk about with an example. So I had a client, we'll call him Max. And Max had this upper limit problem that he became aware of, where anytime his life was going well, all of a sudden he would get flooded with feeling doomsday thoughts, right? So where he would just be anticipating the worst, just out of the blue, right? That's why we knew it was the upper limits problem. So, if life was normal and he wasn't feeling too good, say, right, like too good, he didn't have these doomsday thoughts. So life was fine and he felt okay, and things were pretty good. But if things started getting really good and staying really good for too long, so that he hit his upper limits problem, all of a sudden he'd have these doomsday thoughts about all these catastrophic things that could happen, and he'd become highly anxious, and bam, he would bring the good feelings down, right? So that was a problem. So we came up with our two phrases, and let me get this exact phrase here. Okay, here we go. So his problem phrase was, even, we always start with even though, right? So you're doing the basic recipe, even though, problem phrase, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. So we're going to use, with the choices method, we have to come up with a positive phrase too. So his problem phrase was, when something really good happens, or something good happens, I get really anxious and have doomsday thoughts for no reason. Of course, it's not really for no reason, right? It's the upper limits problem. But that's the experience he was having. All of a sudden, when good things happen, I get really anxious and have doomsday thoughts for no reason. Okay, and then the positive phrase that we use to help increase his upper limit, to raise his upper limit so that he can handle more positive feelings, was the following. I choose to feel grateful and excited when something good happens. I choose to feel grateful and excited when something good happens. Now, you may have noticed that I had the phrase I choose at the beginning. Now, the reason why we use the phrase I choose at the beginning of the statement is the following. The main alternative we could do instead of using I choose is just to use a positive affirmation, right? And a positive affirmation involves making a statement as if it was true, right? You say it as if it was true. So the affirmation version of this would be, I feel grateful and excited when something good happens, right? That'd be an affirmation. I feel grateful and excited when something good happens. The problem with affirmations is that we are stating something as if it was true at a time when it's not yet true, right? And our brain is designed to discern between things that are true and false. So when we, a lot of people run into this when we try and use affirmations to make their lives better. People used to, affirmations were in for a while as a way to try and, move in the direction that we want, but most people have very poor success with them because every time they would say the affirmation, I feel grateful and excited when something good happens, your mind's going, no, you don't. Right? It's like, no, that's wrong, false. So you're not really reinforcing the positive by saying a simple affirmation. But when you put the phrase I choose in front of it, it no longer is a statement of truth. It's a choice that we're making. So just to do a quick example, I want you to try this on for size for yourself. I want you to say, I make $200,000. And notice how you feel. I make $200,000 a year. Okay, just notice how that feels. And now I want you to try saying, I choose to make $200,000 a year. Now, some of you may be making more than that, so this is not going to be a challenge. If you already make more than that, then double what you make. Okay. So say, I choose to make $200,000 a year. What you'll notice is that internally, you're not having an objection. The first one, I make $200,000 a year, there's going to be an objection inside of you. It's like, no, you don't. Right? But if you say, I choose to make $200,000 a year, there's no objection. You might have a question like, how am I going to do that? But you're not objecting to it inside yourself. So this is one of the sort of key insights in the choices method. That's why she called it the choices method. So you have your problem phrase like regular EFT, and then you have what she called the choice statement. And then once you have these two statements, you do the tapping uses those two statements, and it goes like this. The setup affirmation becomes, even though, while you're tapping the crotch out point, even though problem phrase, in this case, when things are really good, I have doomsday thoughts for no reason. I choose to feel, I forgot what it is already. I choose to feel grateful and excited when something good happens. Right? And you say that 3 times, right? So even though problem phrase, choice statement. Even though problem phrase, choice statement, 3 times. Okay, then you're going to do 3 rounds of tapping. The first round of tapping on all the points is the problem phrase, just like regular EFT. So that would be, When something good happens, I get really anxious and have doomsday thoughts for no reason. When something good happens, I get really anxious and have doomsday thoughts for no reason. And you do that through all the points. Then the second round involves the choice statement. I choose to feel grateful and excited when something good happens. And you want to put energy into it. So again, you try and move into that feeling as you're saying it. I choose to feel grateful and excited when something good happens. I choose to feel grateful and excited when something good happens. And you do one round of that. And then the third round, you alternate between the problem phrase and the choice statement. When something good happens, I get really anxious and have doomsday thoughts for no reason. I choose to feel grateful and excited when something good happens. Then you do the negative statement, positive statement, negative statement, positive statement. You just want to make sure you end on the positive, right? So if you have an even number of points, you will. If you have an odd number of points and you find yourself in that negative statement, just stay there and then do the positive statement. So after those 3 rounds, you finish one set, right? One round of positive statements, one round of negative statements, one round of the choice statement, a round of alternating. Then you do another set, right? Starting from the beginning. Even though problem phrase, choice statement. And then do another set. And you want to do typically 3 or 4 sets per setting, right? Per sitting. So that would be around 9 to 12 rounds of tapping, basically. And you can do more if you want. You can do 5 sets, whatever feels comfortable for you. And what you'll find is you'll start letting go of that subconscious way that you've been bringing yourself down. And you will also start increasing your ability to handle good feelings. So you'll start raising that upper limit. And the more you raise it, the less likely you're going to run into it. The more you'll be able to enjoy good feelings, the more that you will stop sabotaging yourself in all the ways that I talked about doing that in your life, right? Whether it's business, career, relationships, family, life in general, will become a lot better. So it's really cool. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, it would really help me and other people to find this video if you take a quick second to like it. Also, you can go to my website at EFTalive.com and get a free ebook I have called Change Your Beliefs, Change Your Life with the Magic of EFT, which helps you learn how to shift negative limiting beliefs in your life into positive ones. Because our negative beliefs can really hold us back in what we can do in our lives. I also invite you to subscribe to my channel to get my latest videos on using EFT to enhance your life. And keep tapping, and I'll see you on the next video.